question, what is the speed of CAN? Okay, CAN protocol operates at the bit rate of 1 Mbps. Okay, so the bus length can go up to 40 meters at 1 Mbps, and if the cable length increases, will decrease the speed due to RLC on the cable. Okay, usually in automotive industry they go for around 500 kbps baud rate. Okay, the next question is, if one node sends an identifier 539 and other node sends 644, which will win the arbitration? As I mentioned earlier, if two nodes send a data or initiate the data transfer at the same time, then it has to go through the arbitration process. So during arbitration, lower the identifier will have the higher priority. So in this case 539 has got a lower identifier, so that is the reason 539 is allowed to send the data, so it will win the arbitration. The next question is, what is bit stuffing? In CAN there is a concept called NRZ, non return to zero. Okay, if consecutive ones are to be sent, then it will not return to zero before sending another bit, so that is non return to zero. So continuously it will send recessive bits. So to avoid these long NRZ messages, okay, so that it can the receivers can keep track of the edges. Okay, the sixth bit, suppose if 6 consecutive dominant or recessive bits are to be sent, then the sixth bit will be a complement of it. Okay, that is called as a bit stuffing. So what are the functions of CAN transceiver? Okay, the function of CAN transceiver, as you can see in this figure, so here we have a microcontroller. Within a microcontroller we have a CAN controller, so which takes care of the protocol part. Okay, so the data goes out of this microcontroller will be a TTL logic, so it can be 0 to 3.3 volt, 0 volts or 3.3 volt. Okay, so but the CAN voltage levels are different. If any node wants to send a dominant bit on the bus, it should send 3.5 volt on CAN high and 1.5 volt on CAN low. So this cannot be done by the microcontroller. So that is the reason we need a transceiver which will convert this voltage logic from TTL to CAN bus voltage logic. So this is the main function of a CAN transceiver. Can you have two transmitters using the same exact identifier field? So you can have, but this should be taken care by the designers. You are not supposed to send two identifier at the same time. You are not supposed to send. Can physical layer voltage levels? Yes. Can physical level voltage levels with respect to dominant and recessive bits already discussed. So for a dominant bit it should be 3.5 volts on the CAN high and 1.5 volt on CAN low, and for a recessive it should be 2.5 volt on CAN high and 2.5 volt on CAN low. How to distinguish between the standard frame and an extended frame? Standard frame will have a 11 bit identifier and extended frame will have a 29 bit identifier. Okay, now how to distinguish whether the incoming frame is a standard frame or an extended frame? So that can be distinguished with the help of an IDE bit. If the IDE bit is 1, then it is a extended frame. If it is 0, then it is a standard frame. This is an excellent feature that CAN has got, the fault confinement in CAN communication. One of the best feature that CAN protocol has got. So here you can see CAN has got 3 different states: error active, error passive and bus off. Okay, by default all the CAN controller will be in error active mode by default. Okay, and to decide this whether it is error active or error passive or a bus off, there are two counters used, transmit error count and receive error count. If the transmit and receive error counters, if the transmit and receive error counters both are less than 127, then the CAN node will be in the error active. Okay, error active nodes will send a error active frames. Error active frame includes 6 dominant bits followed by 8 recessive bits, whereas if any one of the counters becomes greater than 127, then it becomes a error passive. Error passive node will send error passive frames. Error passive frame includes a recessive bits. Okay, and these counters keep incrementing if there are a transmit error and a receive error. Okay, and if there is a successful reception of the message or a successful transmission of the message, then these counters also get decremented. Okay, in case if the node is in error passive mode and the transmitter keeps on incrementing, and if it crosses 255, then that node becomes a bus off. Once it is switched off, once it goes into the bus off mode, it will switch off from the network and further it will not do any data communication. Okay, but it will be keep on listening to the bus. After 128 times, 128 occurrence of 11 consecutive recessive bits, again it can come back to communication. It can become an error active. So this is the best feature that CAN has got. See, once the node is more corrupt, and when the node is more corrupt, it becomes error passive. When it is in error passive, it will send only recessive flags, and the recessive doesn't have impact on the bus. Okay, if the error counter transmitter count crosses 255, it becomes switches off from the network. It will not further disturb the bus. So this is the excellent feature that CAN has got.